I only got like 5% of battery left to record this, so let's hope this gets out correctly. We finally made a signing. Dolphins signed Zach Wilson. A very unexciting day, which was as expected. Dolphins not a lot of money to spend, so this was always going to be the premier type signing. You know, somebody bringing in a 1 or 2 year deal, $5 million, $10 million, whatever it ends up being. But Zach Wilson brought in backup quarterback, back up to a $6 million deal for 1 year. $10 million is what it can go up to, but a fully guaranteed deal for the former number 2 overall pick, former player in the AFC East, formerly of the Jets. We've seen quite a few games from Zach Wilson in his time in New York, where, let's just keep it real, he did not impress. He was not worthy of the number 2 overall pick. He did not have he had the talent. He has the ability to be a top quarterback in this league. Just everything else in terms of away from talent, he just can't quite hone it in and can't quite do it consistently enough to really be somebody who was worthy of the number 2 overall pick and somebody who is a starting quarterback. We've seen other guys in his draft class move on and are now backup quarterbacks. Justin Fields just got a 2-year $20 million or 2-year $40 million deal to be now the quarterback up in New York. Mac Jones in Jacksonville, a very disappointing draft class in general. But just for Zach Wilson, you know what you're going to get from him. Not a very consistent quarterback in his time in New York. Certainly interception prone, turnover prone, just in general. Never really felt like he was in command of the offense there in New York. He then backs up Bo Nix last year. Didn't get really hardly any time at all on the field there in Denver. But he's a little older now. You still know what you get in terms of there's athleticism there. There's arm talent there. There's an incredible athlete at the quarterback position there with Zach Wilson. Just he doesn't show it on a regular enough basis and doesn't show consistency enough at the quarterback position to be a real starter in this league. So he gets a 1-year trial run as the backup quarterback of the Dolphins, which we now know is a position where you very well could see yourself starting for 2, 3, 4 games, or however games Tua is almost inevitably going to miss this upcoming season, just because that's what Tua is. Incredibly inconsistent in his own right, just in terms of staying healthy, which that does then require the Dolphins to have to splurge a little bit at the back quarterback position, which is something that I talked about earlier this offseason. As like, look, as unsexy as it is and how hopefully unimportant it is normally, the backup quarterback position is clearly a position of need for the Dolphins, because we've seen it so many times now. Dolphins go out and get a Teddy Bridgewater this year, Tyler Huntley, Mike White, just guys that weren't quite good enough to step in and start for the Dolphins to keep the Dolphins in the playoff hunt. Those 4 games without Tua clearly were so impactful in terms of the playoff race. The guys that went in there instead of Tua just did not get the job done, and that is ultimately the difference of making the playoffs or not. Zach Wilson is another guy of the mold that Mike McDaniel clearly seems to like. He has formed his system around Tua, an unathletic, small arm quarterback, smaller in stature, smaller in size. He's framed his offense around Tua that works. But now he's started to branch out from what he sees in his starting quarterback for his backups. We saw first with Skylar Thompson, and then last year with Tyler Huntley, and now with Zach Wilson, where he goes with the more prototypical pocket passer with his starting quarterback. He looks for a little more athleticism and playmaking ability in his backup quarterback. And Tyler Huntley did find some success and just find some ability to use his athleticism last year in a Dolphins uniform and do things that Tua can't do. So that is what Zach Wilson ultimately will likely be if he does end up having to play it all this season. Hopefully you don't see a whole lot from him, but when you're spending upwards of $10 million, and I'm sure those incentives are a lot performance-based, haven't quite seen the details of what the performance-based incentives are yet, but it is going to come down to, does he get on the field? Does he have to play? And if he does have to play, then it definitely means that Tua has gone down yet again. I doubt it's going to be a performance issue from Tua where he's ultimately benched. But Zach Wilson will have to come in probably at some point this season. You hope it's not a serious issue with Tua. You hope it's something that's not going to have to put him on IR like we saw last year, where he ends up missing an entire month of the season, and that month is ultimately what kills the Dolphin season and ends up seeing us miss the playoffs. But there's talent there if he's coached well. Hopefully he got some pretty good dodge under Sean Payton last year. We saw what he did with Bo Nix. Hopefully he got coached up there pretty well in Denver, learned some ways to be more consistent in his game, make less mistakes. And now he gets to pair that with Mike McDaniel and what he asks of his quarterbacks and how he's really improved Tua as a quarterback. So it is what it is. It's a backup quarterback signing. He's one of the more athletic quarterbacks in the league, and he's somebody that's going to be bounced around team to team probably for the rest of his career. I doubt he's ever going to be really able to hone down a starting position with Zach Wilson. But it's good enough. It's good enough. It's a position the Dolphins obviously had to address. It sucks when you see the Patriots making all these big signings, when you see the Jets going out and signing a quarterback. Buffalo Bills are, for some reason, giving Josh Palmer a $30 million contract over 3 years. That just doesn't make any sense to me. But you see the moves that the teams across the division are making, and the Dolphins, their first move finally did. I've been holding out. I've been doing a lot of errands, but I've been prepared to make a video like this on my phone while I've been out. I just got out from eating dinner with my mom and brother. Finally something happens. There's probably not going to be a whole lot more. There's not a lot of money to spend. The Dolphins do have issues of need on this team they have to fill, but you're not probably going to see a lot of it in free agency. You're probably going to see more of it in the draft and in the years to come. Hopefully, the guys that are there from last year that are still under contract, they're just going to have to step up, because you're not going to see a whole lot of big names coming in from this free agency class. But let me know your thoughts on Zach Wilson. Do you think he's going to be able to step up? Do you think we're going to see a better version of him than what we saw when we played against him, having to play defense against him, starting for the Jets? Do you think that he'll be better than what we've seen from our backup quarterbacks in the past under Mike McDaniel, the Mike Whites, the Skylar Thompsons, the struggle that we've seen consistently at this position, and the need consistently that we've seen from our backup quarterbacks to have to come in for Tua? So do you think this is a good signing? What do you think of Zach Wilson? Let me know your thoughts down below. We'll see y'all next time. Hopefully, we'll not see you later today. Maybe some more signings, but we all know it's probably not going to happen. But we'll see y'all next time. Have a great rest of your day. Go Dolphins.